Ladies and gentlemen, just to double down on yesterday's show, the now breaking news yesterday in I'm not kidding, a really explosive report by Bret Baier and John Roberts at Fox News. The Washington Post has now been fully exposed as a full-blown propaganda outlet. Let's go to this headline we put up yesterday. This was the Washington Post. Their own headline, not doctored at all. It's their information. The Washington Post by Paulina Ferrazzi. Quote, Tom Cotton keeps repeating a coronavirus conspiracy theory that was already debunked. Senator Cotton repeated a fringe theory suggesting that the ongoing spread of the coronavirus is connected to research in the disease-ravaged epicenter of Wuhan, China. So that's a conspiracy theory. Now, as I tweeted out right before the show, if you check the timeline, whenever the liberal media suggests that a major story is a conspiracy theory, it probably should suggest to you there's an element of truth and they're trying to cover up that truth because it's damaging the Democrats. You should do your own homework and then double and triple down. Conspiracy theory, that term means nothing now. It means nothing. So the Washington Post, just to be clear, the democracy dies in the darkness as they promote the darkness, was suggesting that any evidence that this Wuhan virus originated in a lab in Wuhan, that's a debunked conspiracy theory, folks. Oh my gosh, crazy. We see this story yesterday. Bret Baier at Fox News from government sources. Again, I apply the Bongino rule. 24 to 72 hours. I'm just putting it out there because the evidence is starting to build and we're getting outside that 72-hour window of this story where it's starting to look like this is likely the story. Fox News headline up in the show notes today, Bongino.com/newsletter. If you want to subscribe to our email list, we'll email you these stories every day. Fox News, Bret Baier, Greg Reed. Sources believe coronavirus outbreak originated in a Wuhan lab as part of China's efforts to compete with the United States. I thought that was a conspiracy theory. I thought it was already debunked. Do you understand how pathetic the Washington Post is? How fake this outlet is? How fake and pathetic they are? How they are nothing but a full-blown propaganda mouthpiece now. Now, I covered this yesterday and evidence was building that this leaked from a Chinese lab, the Wuhan virus. We get that. The Bret Baier story now has apparently sources from the inside telling him there's information indicating this is likely the story. But the story gets even worse. You're like, that can't get worse. The Chinese lied about this, saying it originated in these wet markets, but it may have originated from one of their own labs after people warned them about the biosafety levels of their own labs. Oh, it gets worse. Why now it starts to make sense too why the media is in a desperate effort, or was, to cover this up and call it a conspiracy theory. Because Trump came out early and spoke out about and against China and with the travel ban. The WHO then came out and attacked Trump and said that travel ban is xenophobic. The WHO then lied. Trump attacks the WHO. You may say, what does the WHO have to do with this virus leaking from a lab? Well, let's go to the Fox News piece and we can find out, can't we? Exclusive. Quote, there is increasing evidence that the virus outbreak likely originated in a Wuhan laboratory, though not as a bioweapon, but as part of China's attempt to demonstrate its efforts to identify and combat viruses are equal or greater to the capability of the U.S. Multiple sources who've been briefed on the details of early actions by China's government and seen relevant materials tell Fox News. Listen to this quote, ladies and gentlemen. This may be the costliest government cover-up of all time, one of the sources said. The sources believe the initial transmission of the virus, a naturally occurring strain that was being studied there, was bat to human, and that patient zero worked at the laboratory, then went into the population in Wuhan. You may say, what? It gets worse than that? Why was the media so eager to cover this up, the Washington Post, and tell you what was, quote, a debunked, quote, conspiracy theory? Because Trump had spoken out and taken action against China and the WHO. How does the WHO come into this? Let's look at screenshot 2 from the Fox News piece. Additionally, the sources tell Fox that the WHO was complicit from the beginning in helping China cover its tracks. Oh, really? 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 Conveniently, Trump announced at a press briefing he will halt all funding to the WHO, saying it had put political correctness over life-saving measures. Do you believe this? You have a major media outlet with a significant readership, no question about it. The hot garbage Washington Post, which claims to be doing journalism, which is clearly now engaged in either a misinformation or a disinformation campaign. Because Orange Man bad. We hate Trump. We have to own Trump on this one. We have to wreck Donald Trump. You interested in the truth? Nah, truth doesn't matter. Forget the truth. The WHO was complicit in this, according to those sources. Now, because Trump has been going after the WHO and suggesting that they were complicit in this and we're going to have to reevaluate our funding, of course, the media reflexively has to defend the WHO, even though, make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, they know the WHO is wrong here. Look at this tweet by the WHO. So now the media will double down on a misinformation and disinformation campaign because that's what they do. You can see in this tweet the WHO, which now sources are telling people was obviously involved in a cover-up. That's the sources. Here's their own tweet. January 14th. Preliminary investigations conducted by Chinese authorities have found no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission of the novel coronavirus identified in Wuhan, China. Ladies and gentlemen, that is clearly inaccurate information. The only question now, was it intentionally inaccurate? Did they know it was inaccurate? Or were they being played by China too? Now, the media can't have Trump being right about anything, although he was right about China early on, and he was clearly right about the WHO as well. So narrative alert again. Narrative alert sub B. Narrative alert section 1 sub B. First narrative was what? Tell them what you tell them, tell them what you tell them, and then tell them what you told them, and then remind them again. The first narrative was these lawsuits are all partisan. If you rule this way, judges, we're going to say you have blood on your hands. That's the new narrative. The narrative here is pretty clear too, though. Trump was right about the WHO and China from the start. So now they're going back to a tweet where Trump praised China for its transparency, clearly in an effort to be diplomatic and clearly in a tweet that was wrong. It's because Trump tweets stuff doesn't mean he's always right. They were not transparent. Mm-hmm. But Trump was clearly, as the lead diplomat for the United States, being the president of the United States, chief executive of the United States, the State Department's technically the lead diplomat. But you get my point. The representative of the United States on an international scale. He was clearly trying to work with China, engage in some diplomacy over Twitter, which clearly turned out to be wrong. Fair enough. But that has nothing to do, Joe. Because Trump tweeted at one point, thanks to President Xi for their transparency, something to that effect. Yeah. You get my point? Mistake. Yeah. Nonetheless, he wasn't being transparent. Trump may have believed him at the time, but we were wrong. Trump is not a medical sentinel. The WHO is supposed to be doing that.
Right.
That issue has nothing to do with the World Health Organization. World Health Organization tweeting out a tweet about human-to-human transmission being no evidence. That was clearly wrong and clearly at this point may have cost hundreds of thousands of lives. None. They are not related.
You just heard The Dan Bongino Show. You can also get Dan's podcasts on iTunes or SoundCloud and follow Dan on Twitter 24/7 @DBongino.